Now we are.
He's good, but
Now
he's
we
not
are?
that
Oh,
fast.
okay. Okay. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order and start by reading our mission statement. The Newmarket School District is committed to the highest standards of quality education by creating a safe and successful learning community that embraces diversity and responds to the social, emotional, intellectual, and physical needs of every child. We are dedicated to fostering links to the broader community to ensure that students develop lifelong skills, enabling them to be contributing and productive members of society. I'd ask you to rise for a pledge of allegiance to the flag. James, you want to lead us here?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, visitors. This is the portion of the public where you can our agenda where you can make comments about agenda items. If anybody has comments to make about the upcoming agenda. Okay. For those of you at home, we love to take those comments. Please come and talk to us. The minutes. Let's move along.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the April 6th meeting,
Second that.
2006.
Any discussion? Any changes?
We'll just sit quietly while you take your call, Jonathan.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't shut this sucker off. Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. I believe next we're gonna,
There was
The non-public.
oh, I'm sorry, the
I'll make a
non-public.
motion to accept the non-public meeting minutes from April 6th, 2006.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Now we're moving right along.
Now we're moving right along. I'm gonna
Sorry.
not get a chance to say that much longer. Okay.
Say it, but no one's gonna hear you.
I think we're due for a presentation from the Newmarket Police Relief Association. Do we have somebody representing you guys who have agreed to come back? I'm so glad you were willing to do that, and I apologize for our last technical snafu that we had at a previous meeting.
That's fine.
Well, we have also
To
been...
be able to come back. So-
Well, you know, and we think it's this presentation is so important, and we are very grateful for having you here. And the school board has made some decisions about trying to make sure that our technical capacity is improved so that the public can actually see what goes on and be on top of that. We're committed to making sure that our meetings in their entirety are transmitted. Anyway,
Great. Thank
welcome.
you. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Lisa Symes, and I'm with the Newmarket Police Relief Association. The Newmarket Police Relief Association is a nonprofit organization that is made up of full and part-time employees of the police department that would like to put some spirit into the community. We have in the past done what we call Stuff a Cruiser, an annual toy drive that each year continues to grow, providing toys at Christmas time for the children in Newmarket. We've also assisted Link Together with some financial assistance. Upcoming, we also are having a bicycle rodeo that we're going to be sponsoring that will be coming up. We have our annual softball game. All of these things are done through money that we raise, and it's all given back to the community. And in the spirit of that, we have a donation that we'd like to make to the school district for the Newmarket Elementary School for a defibrillator. We're hoping that it will never have to be used there, but if it does, we hope it saves a life. So if Diane Beach could come up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to talk later, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Diane?
how about a
Thank you.
picture?
And Lisa, they can get a picture. Thank you.
So, and I'd also like to just add, before I sit down, we have a scholarship that is going to be available to the students at the high school. The applications, I believe, will be coming in next month. Is that it?
Pat Leas has all the information.
Okay, all right. So that is on hand. And we have our annual softball game coming up August 4th, the All-Pro Celebrity Softball Game. And there are tickets available at the station if anybody needs them. We hope to see you all there. It's a fun time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you so much, Lisa.
If I could make a comment, as you know, this was one of your goals this year, was to try to have defibrillators into our schools. And the contribution that was made by the Newmarket Relief Association allowed us to put a second one into the building. So we're very pleased to be able to have that. And I think I would reiterate what Lisa said. We hope we never have to use it, but it's available now. And I think and I hope that Mrs. Beach will talk, because she's also doing a presentation this evening on wellness, that she'll talk with us about the training that she's giving to our staff so that they know how to use that defibrillator. So we're very appreciative.
Thank you again. Okay. The policy committee, do we want to cover the technology standards for the middle school? Chet, you want to,
Is that mine? I didn't know I was supposed to do this.
well, you've actually been our
Is
policy,
this the first reading?
it's our second reading
Yeah.
on the
All right.
policy committee standards, and
maybe-
you've been our policy
Okay.
guy right along.
Maybe I should read this section for the people.
Sure.
Students in the 8th grade will be given the opportunity to demonstrate the understanding of key concepts as detailed in the middle school portfolio. Students that successfully achieve this standard will meet the high school information and communication technology prerequisite for technology classes and be able to take an advanced computer technology course to meet the half-credit high school graduation requirement. Students that are unsuccessful in meeting the middle school portfolio standard will be required to take a high school information and communication technology literacy course in their freshman year. Parents will be notified as to the student's progress prior to the end of the 8th grade. Right, and there's other stipulations that they have to meet in regards to this particular this requirement from this technology Information Communication Act that we have, basically. It's, or our policy, we call it a policy.
So this is basically is this a state requirement, for a graduation requirement, a technology credit?
Yes, it is.
So-
And the new twist to it, because we've always had a technology requirement, but the new twist to this, of course, is that we're creating an electronic portfolio. And that students' artifacts, students' work will be collected, maintained in that portfolio, and then reviewed, as you saw in detail under the backup portion of this policy, that our staff will review those portfolios, and should they meet the requirements as articulated in the expectation, then they will be awarded that half credit, and that will allow them to continue to take other technology classes that have higher level competencies. So this is a requirement. It's part of the New Hampshire, the new draft, the new standards. And so this is the first of many you'll see as we work, Chet and I actually worked with the technology committee on this. And they were right on top of this one. So.
And I was particularly impressed with some of the components of those portfolios. I just want to read a couple things. This is mostly for the folks at home, that the technology portfolios will be used to address the following components: basic operations and concepts, social, ethical, and human issues, technology productivity tools, technology communication tools, technology research tools, technology problem-solving and decision-making tools. B, represent proficient, ethical, and responsible use of 21st century tools within the context of core subjects, and to include at a minimum such digital artifacts, the ones you were mentioning, standardized tests, observations, student work, comments describing students' reflection on his or her work. I just thought these were really, I have to say, something completely different than, this is where I kind of date myself a little bit,
Yeah.
than when I think about middle school or high school in terms of my own experience, but absolutely critical for the kids' education today.
And is this something that will be portable for them, after they graduate, this portfolio? Is that something
Right.
yeah.
They'll have that. I mean, we'll maintain that. I think James could describe it in greater detail, but we have enough available room on our server so that every student will have a portfolio, and we will be able to maintain that. But when they leave, they can take it with them. And in all likelihood, many of our students will be using those skills that they garnered in high school when they go on,
Yep.
which is the point of this whole thing.
Great.
Questions, discussion about this policy?
Are we acting on this tonight, Mr. Chair?
It is a second read, and typically that's what we do.
Make a motion to approve policy IHAB, Newmarket Middle High School Information and Communication Technology Policy as presented.
Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Can we, while we're doing committee reports, can we get a little report on last night's facilities committee?
All right.
We're working you tonight, Chet.
Okay, we met last night in town hall, and after an introduction of new members, we kind of talked about forming some subgroups. Before we got to even forming the subgroups, we got into some debates on why Articles 1 and Article 2 did not pass. And members that gave these reasons there were some surprises, and there were some statistics that were stated and so forth. So it's kind of interesting. Subgroups that were formed were the Search for Land group, the Communications group, and a Survey group, and also a Renovation group. And what we mean by a Search for Land group is there's going to be a group of us, because Kathy and I are going to lead that pack with Mr. Lemire, and there's Mr. Leahy, are going to take a look at land in town and see just actually where we can get a fit. And the communications will be exactly that. They'll be working on communications with members of the community to make sure they understand what's going on, as well as a survey. We want to resurvey the community. And the renovation committee is going to look at what can possibly be done if it needs to be. Where we have to do it is renovate the school we have right now. If it's possible in ways of the state will accept it, if it's possible in ways that we can afford it. So that's where that's going to stand. Our next meeting is going to be on May 23rd, upon which each subgroup will have their individual meetings, which they'll meet like our group, the Land Search group, will meet like May 2nd or 3rd. We're already forming it to get those people together. And we'll report back to the facilities committee group on May 23rd in terms of what we have at that point. These searches will go on, I guess, at least through September or October, could be even into November.
Any other comments you want to make, Linda?
No, he pretty much summed everything up. These subcommittees will be meeting on a regular basis. The facilities committee will meet monthly. The subcommittees will meet as frequently as needed. I know I'm on the renovation committee, and we're meeting next week. So, so we have a lot of work ahead of us, and our goal is to kind of have everything wrapped up by September 1 so that we have some good, solid ideas for when we go into budget season, so.
Sounds good.
Could I make a couple of comments?
Yeah.
One of the issues that we brought up was the regionalization cooperative possibilities that are out there. And I just wanted to let the board know that I have, and the facilities committee sort of gave me that charge also to look into this. But as you know, most of the districts are already committed in some fashion, either through a long-term tuition agreement or in a cooperative. They're already in a cooperative, such as Newfields is in with Exeter, that kind of thing. But one of the communities that is in some way in the same place as us is Barrington. Although they don't have their own high school, they currently send their students to Dover and actually Ann Co. Brown. They are on schedule to build a high school for Barrington. And so I have been meeting with the superintendent, Michael Morgan, to discuss the possibilities. If Newmarket and Barrington came together, what would that look like? How would that work? I don't have any of those answers. We want to explore that. We also talked about what would a cooperative or a regional or a tuition agreement look like between Newmarket and Barrington. And also to look at what would mean in terms of the SAU. Obviously, if Newmarket were to go to Barrington and their students were to go there, you'd have to rethink your SAU. You really would. I mean, talk about talking yourself out of a job, but really, it's true. You would have to rethink that organization. Now, there's a lot of pros and cons to that. One of the members, Mr. Badger, was very clear last night, very clear with me that he did not think that was a great idea, but we want to hear from everybody because we have heard from people that thought it would be a very good idea. So I want to let the board know. Mike Morgan and I would like to come to you and come to the Facilities Committee and talk about these issues in public. If the
Mike
public
Morgan
is the superintendent from Barrington. So I'm just kind of alerting you to these discussions. They're very, very preliminary, and I expect to be meeting with Superintendent Morgan quite a bit.
Well, I know when we previously raised this issue with the community, there was some pretty strong feelings about sending kids outside of Newmarket. But that was before we had this most recent vote, and my assumption on that was that I don't want to say the community wasn't as interested in new school issues as it is now, but I think it's quite interested in these issues, and it's very much on the radar screen. And when we first polled the community, well over a year ago on this, there was a strong feeling about not going outside, and I think that we could expect greater community involvement in a discussion about that following our recent vote on a new school.
I just think we would be remiss
at
not turning over every possibility for the community. And
absolutely.
I don't have a position one way or the other. I'm exploring on your behalf, and I just want you to know that I'm doing that. One more point is Nottingham has signed a 10-year agreement with Dover. So they're going to be pretty much out of the picture. They decided to go that route, and so I don't think they're going to be players any longer. So,
Chad?
If I could ask the question whether we could have our facilities meetings, we're going to meet once a month, whether we could have them televised?
well, we absolutely.
I think the community should hear this.
I don't have a problem with that, except that we don't have. You understand that we have limited resources relative to the TV. I am meeting with a gentleman from Durham. I've already met with him, and he has a proposal, and I would like to bring that proposal forward, because if we have this kind of coverage, we're going to have to determine a way. I know, by the way, it was on the town council's agenda last night. They talked about this because there's a lot of people are very interested in expanding the opportunities that Channel 13 can give the community. I'm meeting with him, I hope, next week, and I would like to bring forward a proposal. The issue right now is resources. I've met with Mr. Dixon to talk about what possibilities we might be able to access some of the money that the town receives from Comcast. So.
So we can look into that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other committee reports Okay, let's move on to programs. Diane, if you would be willing to give us an update on the Wellness Committee?
I have several things. I want to talk about update on wellness. I'll mention a little bit about the defibrillators.
Great.
And then I think you have a copy of the new influenza plan we're putting together.
Super.
Put that in their packet. It's okay. You don't. It's okay. Thanks.
They can't hear you at home unless you're talking right into that.
That's all right.
It's kind of,
This is just an update of what we've been doing in wellness. I know that
yeah, the
we
influenza
policy passed in December, and since then, we've been doing a lot of things with wellness. It seems to be a real popular thing right now with our staff. As a committee, we've put together a booklet for every staff member on the policy, giving information basically on how to deal with it, what it means to them, ideas for changing the type of rewards that are given in school, moving away from food, obviously, and on to other things. And there's like 4 or 5 pages of that. There's also ideas for fundraisers, because I've had there's a lot of fundraising that goes on at the high school. And we do one major one usually at the elementary school, and at the high school there's so many groups that do fundraisers. So I've had some people email me with concerns about what are they going to do now, because food is a big part of it. So that's in the booklet, and I've distributed it to the elementary school. I have to find the time to make more copies to get it up to the high school, but that'll go out to every staff that's interested, so they have that information. As far as other wellness things, we're in the 3rd round of yoga classes in the district, which begins May 1st for another 7 weeks until the end. I have approximately 40 staff that have taken that opportunity, so it's really popular. On May 15th through 19th, we're going to be celebrating National Women's Health Week. And the nurse and I have been talking, and I know in our school, and I'm not sure how much she's got planned yet, but in our school, I'm actually bringing in a massage therapist for a day, and they'll be signing up. Actually, almost every spot is full right now for chair massages as a benefit for the staff, and they really jumped at that. We're also doing a potluck wellness type lunch on Wednesday, that the teacher workshop half day. We'll be doing that, and hopefully a couple more things we'll be planning. I'm trying to get a speaker in on stress management. That was one of the things they wanted. So we're working on that week. That's May 15th, the week of May 15th. Our new bike program isn't really part of the wellness. Well, it's all included. We're just all doing wellness. The grant we got, I know I talked about that one when I was here before. Our new bike program, which includes this year grades 1 and 2, is a really big success. The students in PE class are riding bikes. They go through different stations. They work on various skills. There's bikes with training wheels, bikes without training wheels. It's really exciting to come and watch, because you can hear them and, oh, I can ride, and it's like amazing, because Nancy found that when she did field trips with these kids in the 4th and 5th grade, they didn't have a bike, or they didn't know how to ride a bike. So she really wanted to make a difference in that, and so everyone goes through it. Everyone participates. We have rented a bike for someone that if we have any special needs, we have that in the grant for money, so everyone's participating. They bring their own helmets, or one's provided for them, and they're also learning bike safety. There's 2 biking clubs after school that are going real well. One's 1st grade, one's 2nd grade. 42 children are participating in that right now. And there's 2 family rides planned, and I'm not sure when they are, but there'll be Friday night rides for parents to be involved in it too. Next year, if we get the grant, it's possible that we can get it for 3 years. And next year, we're going to bring it to the kindergarten, and then after that, the preschool. So, the grant also includes a nutrition component.
So I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we're doing with that part of it as far as wellness goes. And our school lunches, I was just looking at the menu for this month, and it's amazing, all the options that are there. It really hasn't changed a lot. They've been there, but I've noticed that the cakes and cookies have disappeared, and every dessert is a fruit of some sort, and there's a lot more salads. The salads are really good. But I've noticed, it's always been there, but now it's really seems to be taking off. All the teachers are going in there and getting the salads, and so that's working out well. I just spoke to someone, I think tonight. Is tonight the ice cream? Yes. There's an ice cream social going on tonight. Now, the teacher that's running that, she came in, she says, "Oh, I'm glad to see you today." She says, "I just want you to know I bought low sugar varieties and low fat variety," and she's, so it's not like we're not allowing these things. People are going to celebrate, but they're choosing healthier options, which is nice to see. Also, the last thing about wellness I wanted to tell you about was last month we had classrooms voluntarily design lunches, healthy lunches, and so we picked the winners, and they're going to be highlighted during the week of May 22nd. We usually have a week where the parents come in to eat with their students, first grade one day, second grade, and we've noticed sometimes they bring in other foods and fast food options and things, and we're trying to get away from that. So we actually had students design lunches. So when you go in to eat with your first grader, you'll be eating a lunch designed by the first grade, a classroom, and all that week. And then those lunches will be incorporated into the normal monthly lunches, and they'll see, oh, that's our class's lunch, and so I think they'll like that. So that's one of the other things we're doing. Any questions about that before I move on?
Is there, this is a particular interest to the board. Is there anything the board can do to help support additionally the efforts of the Wellness Committee?
A budget would be nice. I've actually put together a budget, and I'm thinking I got one. I'm not sure how much it is yet. Yeah. So next year with the budget, I have budgeted, hopefully, it went through, and I'm budgeting for help with paying for some of the options that I have speakers, I have a bike program, a walking program I want to bring in. Oh, I do. Speakers, classroom materials, some for covering CPR instruction. Let's see. Help with paying for some of the yoga. I want to bring in a Kid Power pedometer program for the 4th and 5th graders. It also possibly getting the Exeter Healthcare van to come in for screenings for staff. So, and I think some of the money in the budget will cover, we had a change of insurance. Our new insurance, I saw yesterday, I was reading, it covers $150 a year if you have a club membership, but our old insurance covered a little more, so some of the budget will cover that too. So.
Unless I miss my guess, I think that's going to be looked upon pretty favorably by the board as we go forward, because there's been some discussion about supporting those activities right along. We see the payoff not only in terms of the kids, but also in terms of the staff.
They love it. They really do. They tell me every day that they...
Well, this has really become a community endeavor, too. As
Yeah.
you heard tonight from Lisa Symes, the police department is going to work with Nancy Miller at the elementary school to do a bike rodeo. So they just received a grant for $600, I believe, for helmets for youngsters that may not be able to afford the helmet. And that day at the bike rodeo, which will be held at the elementary school, they will be giving out the helmets and working with the youngsters on safety and riding. And it's a rodeo. They go through all kinds of, mazes and whatever. And so Nancy's bike group and the police will be working together. So that's really neat.
That's great.
The people from the grant came to visit us last month, and they were so excited about this bike program because they've only seen one other in the country so far, and they're really interested in how it works out. So, Just a quick update on the AED, the defibrillators that we have. We now have one at the high school and one at the elementary school. And I have trained, currently 19 staff people have been trained in CPR, first aid, and using the defibrillators. So that's really, I had a real favorable response. They were very willing to come, and they really wanted to learn. I didn't know people might be a little nervous about, stepping up to the plate with that, but they're really glad they're there. So that's good. Now the last thing is the influenza draft you have. Kathy and I worked on that. I made a few changes after going to a conference where I listened to a speaker from the state scare us all with information on this flu that might be coming. And recently, yes, as yesterday, I heard on the news that they said something about the birds are flying this way, they're summer nesting, and we could see it anytime. So what we did was take the, I think it's a 12-page state guidance, and we went through it step by step, and we made 3 levels. Green, the yellow and orange kind of go together, as you can see in the middle, and then level red. And if you look at the top, level green, it's what actually we should always, it's normal operating level. There's always some type of flu around. This is how we should be running our day-to-day operations in the school, which we do follow these things. It includes flu shot clinics, which we work very hard on getting, which has been really hard the last couple of years, but we did get one this year. Last year we weren't able to. So we display posters in both schools. We encourage the hand washing. We have ID badges, and we all agree on who we send home and when on a normal operating level. Then you move down to the yellow and orange, and this is for when there's a infection. This is the actual pandemic infection that everyone's talking about, not the regular flu. But that's when it should enter our country or be in the United States, and it progresses to when it's in our community. Kathy and I talked a lot about what would happen if it was actually in the community, and by that point, our level red would be possibly closing the school, more than likely closing the school. When I went to the conference, they looked back at the 1918 epidemic, and that was before there was, flights and how small the world has gotten. And it traveled within 2 weeks, right across the whole entire country. And they say that this one would travel within 24 hours because of the way travel has changed in our world. So by the time it hits, we wouldn't be waiting around. We would have to consider closing the school at that point, but hopefully it'll never happen. So I think this is I don't know where we stand on the policy and how we are, but
Well,
I think it probably needs a lot.
Yeah,
looking at.
this was kind of, again, your first look at this. We would like to take it back. We've been talking with Dan Vincent, our health officer in Newmarket. Obviously, Mary Fessenden at the high school, and Diane and myself. And so we're going to look at this one more time. The state pretty much has given us direction, but we're on our own. They honestly don't have the staff to be able to come out and do anything. We're going to we will need to be ready for whatever happens. But honestly, if this situation occurs and there's an epidemic, then obviously your schools need to be closed. I would turn those schools over to the emergency management folks. That's Candy Jarris in the community, and they would take the schools if they needed them for any staging areas. But our students would need to remain at home. And we intend to provide the parents with information packets so that they can better understand and what they should do as parents in preparation. So I don't know if you have any questions. Diane's done just a terrific job on this project.
Diane, yesterday I was in a high school with a group from the state looking at what had to be done and so forth, and I had to use the laboratory. In using the laboratory, 2 youngsters came in who looked like 7th graders, individually, not together, used the laboratories and turned around and walked out without washing their hands.
Did
I
they?
was kind of...
Whose school is that?
This is in the high school laboratories, and I was wondering if there's some way that we can bring it to their attention that this is necessary.
Well,
to
that
wash
is the best prevention is the only way. And I know Mary does a good job of putting up signs, and I'm sure it's included in their curriculum, but I think probably in the fall, it'll be more out there.
And even in looking at the laboratory itself, I noticed one of the containers that they throw the papers in was in a way one of the hand washing areas where they couldn't get to it. I think that probably should be looked at too. But I was not happy seeing students come in there and using the laboratory and then turn around and walking out.
Yeah.
Any other comments on the this particular policy at this point, other than it's something that I think we'll need to spend a little bit more time on, get a little more input
Yeah.
from you guys on, and have it come back
The other
again?
thing is, Kathleen mentioned she wanted a health alert. Actually, we talked about putting it on the website or whatever. So I talked to Deb Boatwright at our school, just to see how it would work and if she could do it. And so we did put it on the elementary school, and it has a link right to a page that I have on my website, the health website, and it says, it would say no health alerts, or I forget what she did, but she did a really good job of putting a red button right at the front page of opening the elementary school. So we're going to try to get that on the regular website too.
We also have the
says no.
ability now to, with the software, James can, from his vantage point, home, get on the Channel 13 computer and put up a slide. So should we need to have an alert, then we can use that. Same as when we cancel school or have a delayed opening.
And I'm assuming that some of the information that we have here is available either on your website or is also available for, some of the general information about the flu and the avian flu, some of this CDC information.
When I put the health advisory button, you click it and it goes to the currently updated page, and it says none at this time. And it also says we are working on this, and as soon as it's up and running, we will. I just cut and paste, and I put up all the. Right now, there's lice information, but
Okay.
whatever's current is on that page, and then it stays there in a file. So
Great.
okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Okay. I think we're ready for principal reports. Who would like to go first?
If I may, let James go before I do, only because he does so much work in getting his information. I don't want to infringe on his report at all.
Great. James?
Okay.
Can you give our student report here?
Our spring sports are off and running. Our varsity baseball team is 2-2. The JV boys baseball team is 3-0. The varsity softball is 2-2, and the JV softball is 3-0. This past week was our high school spirit week. Monday was Hawaiian Day. Tuesday was Dress Like Your Lip Sync Day, which was each class performs like a little skit with a number of songs related to the music that was assigned to them. Wednesday was Pirate Day. Thursday was Superhero Day, and tomorrow will be School Spirit Day. The sophomore class will be sponsoring a dance tomorrow evening from 7 to 10 p.m., which will have a $7 admission. The high school student council is currently holding a cosmetics and toiletries drive for the town. Let's see here. On May 16th, the high school band will be taking a trip down to Symphony Hall to see the Boston Pops play. Also that evening is the National Honor Society induction ceremony. The dinner will take place at 6 p.m. and the ceremony itself will take place at 7.
What night is that, James?
May 16th.
Thank you.
6 p.m. dinner and 7 p.m. induction ceremony. Our junior prom will be held on the 13th of May from 7 to 11 p.m. at the Portsmouth Country Club. And our French students will be taking a trip to Quebec from May 25th to the 28th. I believe she came and gave a report on that last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Seems like I haven't been here for a while, so there's so much to tell you. We did have our spelling bee this year. Our 7th grade language arts teacher, Siobhan Mihalik, conducted that. And I think it was done very professionally this year because she has attended lots of spelling bees, had the entire middle school in our cafeteria, set up microphones for students, was held very professionally, and Jay Lancaster was our winner. He went on to the regional competition and scored 3rd place in that competition. This year we decided we'd try something different. Our English department, enthusiastic about poetry and getting students more enthralled in poetry, decided to participate in a poetry out loud evening. I don't know if many of you were able to attend. It was well attended. The students just did a great job of selecting a poem that had some meaning for them, and then they used their dramatic side, if you will, to perform that poem. One of our winners, Annie Fimazone, went on to the competition in Manchester and placed 3rd in this region in that competition. So we were really proud of Newmarket. Even though we're a small high school, we're certainly getting youngsters who do very well. To continue on that vein, Alex Scott, who is one of our students who attends the Seacoast School of Technology, competed in the regional auto collision competition and won. Got 1st place out of the entire state of New Hampshire. We were thrilled for him, and now he is busy raising funds, hoping to go to the national competition during the summer. I'm hoping that all of you might have seen on Channel 9 our Hometown Hero. As a principal, I've watched that for years, and they spotlight youngsters in various parts of the state that have something that they've done athletically that's outstanding. This year, our very own James King was highlighted as the Hometown Hero. He is one of our cross-country runners and competed this year in the Boston Marathon. Now, when I say competed, he was one of 11 18-year-olds in the entire nation that earned that right to have a number, 4464, I think, and he competed. He did very well, I thought, 3 hours, 28 minutes. He wasn't very pleased. He told me that he had hoped that he would do it in less than 3 hours. That was his personal goal. But he was back in school on Tuesday morning, mentioned that he was a little sore, but did a very nice job, and we were really pleased that he was there to represent us. The play. As you all know, we did not have a drama performance last year, and we felt badly about that. We just couldn't get anyone that was real excited on taking on that task, and it is a very laborious task. In October, we had auditions held for Mixed Nuts, and Mr. Flaherty took on that advisorship this year, and I was really pleased that he had so many young people want to participate that he had 2 cast instead of 1. And his feeling was that in case there was an illness, that there would be a 2nd cast member. Well, unbeknownst to us, we did have one of our youngsters get hurt, break an ankle and could not perform. So he was very pleased that he had not only gave more students the opportunity to perform, but also had a backup cast. And they had 4 performances: a Friday night performance, a Saturday matinee, Sunday matinee, and a Saturday evening performance. So I congratulate them. He and Annette Blake worked on that. She did the work behind the scenes, the artistic work, and he did the direction of the play. We've had lots of fun things this year. Our band has been trying to raise money, so one evening a couple weeks ago they had a show and dessert. And the band parents sponsored a raffle, so you could buy raffle tickets, and there were several selections of gifts that were contributed for that. It was about an hour in length, and I think it was enjoyed by all. It was nice. The parents made lots of great desserts, and we had lots of positive comments about that evening. We also had a culture fair that was sponsored by our 7th and 8th grade group recently. I know some of you were in attendance, and the students do a good job of providing goodies. I think that you probably could have eaten your whole meal there that evening if you'd wanted to. We also had the same week our medieval fair that's sponsored by our 6th grade students, and it gave students an opportunity to address questions from other parents in the group or other public members, and it gets youngsters in the routine of being able to talk about and articulate their work that they've done and their research. And I think that's a very good idea that we've done with our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. National Library Week was celebrated there this year with a contest. Our librarian got on the intercom every morning, gave several questions about various books. Students could submit their answers, and by the end of the day, they would know if they were a winner or not. And at the end of the week, those students that won got a certificate from Barnes & Nobles if they placed 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place. Otherwise, they were able to go to the library and select from new paperback books that she had purchased as a gift. A lot of enthusiasm for that this year. We had more youngsters participate in the middle school and high school than we've had in the past, and in that way we're just continuing to try to improve kids' use of our library and get them interested in reading. I want to thank, especially on TV this evening, the parent group that sponsors luncheons for our staff at the junior senior high school. Today was one of those luncheon days. Dieting, I really wanted to stay away from that teacher's room because the things they bring in are just fantastic. They're not only delicious, but their presentation is beautiful. I cannot thank those parents enough. And the sad thing about it is we never find out exactly who does all the work to present the goodies for our staff because they bring them in. A couple mothers come in, stay for the day, and the mothers have got very wise. They only put out a select amount of food for lunch 1, then a select amount for lunch 2, so that the people in lunch 3 are able to still have goodies. So thank you very much to our parent group for that support. The teachers really appreciate it and feel really good about that. Our science department, we decided on March 14th, which was our last professional development day, that they could go to the Harvard Museum of Natural History. And they were to attend a seminar there that was on biodiversity. Well, from that experience, they were able to speak with an archaeologist who was willing to take 24 of our youngsters to do a special seminar with them yesterday. So that connection certainly benefited the students of Newmarket. So we took a bus yesterday. 24 of the youngsters went to the Harvard University for the archaeologist to speak with him, and then 24 of them went to the Boston Medical School City Lab, in which they participated in a forensic lab. Jim Fabiano has been working diligently to try to acquire through grants some forensic equipment that we can use in our building. We have a lot of that equipment. The problem, he says, is space. We just don't have enough space to set up a lab of that magnitude. So we're still working on getting a little bit more equipment and hoping to be able to provide that to our students in the future. The entire science department is working. If you have a youngster in the 8th grade, then you'll know that the science fair is the next biggie for them. And all of our science staff has been working to address questions and help research for all of our 8th grade students, so they'll be able to make presentations on May 24th. Last week, Mr. Pavlidis offered a practice PSAT for our students. 16 juniors took advantage of that last Saturday morning, and a practice PSAT means they come and they take the test and they score it right then and there. So students walk away and they know what their scores are. They also write an essay, similar to that what they would do on the regular SAT, and 2 teachers will score that just as they do on the regular SAT. They do not have their scores back from the writing. The 2 scorers are Mr. Flaherty and Pam Caswell, and soon as they're finished with that scoring, our youngsters will have those results. Gary Silly, who is the Associate Director of Admissions at UNH, will speak to our juniors on May 15th about college admissions, so we're trying to get them prepared mentally for next year when they need to think about college applications. As we talked at one board member, I think you asked about advisory. Currently, our 8th grade team is presenting our students with an advisory, meaning we've divided up that 8th grade group into several advisories so that the amount of youngsters in each advisory is not more than 10. We would like to continue that into the high school with our 9th grade population. So I've asked for volunteers at the high school level for anyone wanting to be involved with the advisory, and to date I have 6 volunteers. We think we can do with just 8. So we're excited about that. We will try to provide some training. Natalie Harmon, our middle school guidance person, has a lot of background in the advisory and plans to do some training hopefully over the summer this year. Trying to think if I've left anything out. The big thing coming up at Newmarket Junior Senior High School is our NEAP testing. So I made a little packet for you for a couple reasons. The pink sheet at the very top is a letter that our parents will be getting, those who have sophomores or 10th graders at Newmarket. And the reason for that is, if you'll recall, last year when we give the NEAPs, our building is such that we really want to set up a testing atmosphere for young people. We don't want them to be not attentive to the tests because of confusion in the hall, passing the hall, etc. So we have done this for the last couple years. Is what we'll do on May 3rd and May 4th is that we will bring to school at 7:30 only our sophomores. And the buses will then go back out, do the elementary runs, and pick up our high school students, grades 6 through 12, excluding 10, at 9:30. And we will start school at 9:30 on those 2 dates. We will plan an alternative activity for the rest of the student body from 9:30 to 10 because our sophomores need from 7:30 until 10, both of those days, for testing. And then if you look at the back of that pink sheet, if the youngsters' parents agree, those sophomore students may be dismissed for the day. We do think that the test takes a lot out of youngsters for a 2.5-hour period. We had a lot of success with that in the past, letting students know that this is not something that, even though you don't get a grade on your report card, it is very valuable information for us as a staff, because we need to look at the curriculum and our plans based on how well they do. I spoke with all the sophomores this morning in a meeting and explained to them how very important it was that they do the best, and I have also offered them some encouragement, if you will, in the form of what will happen if they score low on this test. What we've done this year is we've enrolled them in a remediation course in both reading and language arts and math. And I said to them, we are not doing this as a punishment. If you don't perform well, then we don't want you leaving our high school without those skills. So we're going to insist that you be enrolled in a remediation course for at least a semester so that we can help you to perhaps remediate those skills or obtain mastery on some of those skills. So they know that. They also know if they score at the very top, which is advanced level, that we will allow them to select their own parking space in the student lot next year without a fee for that parking sticker. And that seems to be a real motivator. It was in the past, so we'll continue to do that. On the purple sheet, I gave you this because I know many of you are very, very good about attending our events. These are important dates. James has mentioned a few of them. But please note those because there are some evening events that you may want to attend. I would direct your attention to the Top 10 Luncheon, which is on May 30th. We are in the process of planning that, but I want to open that invitation to board members to attend. We would leave, the limo would pick the kids up at the school at 11 o'clock, and we'll leave from there. In the past, board members have met there at the school, and we've gone. I can't tell you a restaurant right now. I'm still negotiating with a couple restaurants, and I usually don't say that, especially on TV, because I want it to be somewhat of a surprise for our top 10. But if any of you are interested, if you could call me at your earliest convenience, that would be great. You'll also notice that on May 31st is what we call Step Up Day. We had a lot of success last year by transitioning students in advance, meaning the 5th graders would come up and meet and spend the afternoon with our 6th grade team. Our current 6th graders would spend the afternoon with our 7th grade team, 7th grade with the 8th grade team, and our 8th graders would also spend time in the high school with our 9th grade team. And then that evening, our 5th grade parents will come to our cafeteria at 7. They will get to meet each member of the 6th grade team, speak with myself and the assistant principal, hopefully to make that a little bit smoother transition for young people. If I can direct your attention to the goldenrod sheet, that kind of gives you an outline of what we're doing on Step Up Day. Because we're not bringing students into our building on the 3rd and 4th of May until 9:30, that gives 2 hours of time that I can spend with the staff. So we've chosen to spend that in transition meetings. So our 7th, if you'll notice on Wednesday, May 3rd, our 7th and 8th grade teams will meet. Scott Thompson and I have talked about that same day our 5th and 6th grade teachers will meet at the elementary school. And then on Thursday, there'll be transition between 8th and 9th and 6th and 7th grade groups. So that's here. The fortunate thing about that is we're going to use our time wisely for this testing period, but we do have a professional day scheduled for May 17th. If these teams feel that they have not had enough time, we can give them some more time that afternoon to finish those transition meetings should they find that that's just not enough time for them. The last sheet is the final exam schedule. That's just so you'll know it. If any parents would ask questions or students, you'll have that schedule also. I'm trying to see if I left anything out that wasn't. Nope. I think that probably does it for me. The only bad news I have, and I might as well say it on TV, at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I got a call tomorrow. The student council was giving a gift, if you will, to the student body in the form of having an assembly in which a hypnotist would come and do a show. We've had the show before at Newmarket, and it's just been hilarious and very much appreciated by students. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, the hypnotist called me and said, "Mrs. Brooks, I've been ill all week. I didn't realize how ill I am, but I'm on the way to the hospital, and I really want to apologize, but I can't be there." He gave me a name of another hypnotist, so we do have one coming tomorrow. I was able to get a hold of him just before coming this evening, and he will come. The only problem is I was very much enamored with the first hypnotist because I've seen him perform, and I know his show was really, really good, especially for our age group. I'm not familiar with this second gentleman, so my hope is that he will be equally as good. But I think it will be an afternoon of enjoyment for all of our youngsters, a gift to them before they start their spring break.
Even if his show is not very good, by the time he's done, you will believe that it was.
Yeah, they're right. I'm sure you're right. Do you have any questions, please? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for that report.
A comment about the students at the junior senior high school. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but we had 2 members of the Department of Ed who visited on Wednesday and toured the facility. And when Sue and I were bringing them back here to the SAU office, both of them, Ed Murdo and Bernie Davis, both involved in building construction at the state level, commented to Sue and I what well-behaved, well-mannered, and very respectful students they were. They were just very impressed with our students at the middle school and the high school, and I just, they're great kids, and sometimes we forget to tell the good stories. I think Deb kind of told them tonight, but I want to reiterate that. And that was an outsider just coming in for a visit to see our school, and it was nice to hear.
Did they comment on how well Chet and I behaved?
Well, they didn't really comment. They refrained.
Mr. Thompson?
Gotta get the last word in.
Good evening. It has been a long time since we've been here. We also had a winner for the spelling bee, and even though he's in 5th grade, he had won for the 2nd year in a row and competed very well against those 8th graders. It was Nick Diaz, and this is his 2nd year in winning, and I believe he was in the top 6 out of the whole region, which was really good. For a 5th grader, I thought that was exceptional. Going back a bit, just to give you a flavor of what's been going on at the elementary school, we had Read Across America Week, the week of March 6th. I'm sorry, I forgot something really important. And Read Across America Week culminated on Friday in a 15-minute period of USSR, which is uninterrupted, sustained silent reading. And during that time, all of the students come out to the hallway and they sit and they just read. It's just the most magical 15 minutes. The Cat in the Hat appeared in full Cat in the Hat uniform, sat with the students and also read a book. Later that day, we had many volunteers come in to read their favorite books to students in each classroom, all wearing their Dr. Seuss hats. It's quite a day. The following week, grade 2 went to see Amelia Bedelia at the Portsmouth Music Hall, and grade 3 went to see Cinderella in Derry. This week, we also began the lengthy process of placement of students. We send notes home to parents, and we ask them to give us their input as to what kind of classroom environment best suits their children to help them succeed for next school year. In March, we also did the LOTI survey, which is the level of technology integration. I think you're probably all familiar with that, but it gives us information about what areas of technology we use and how we use it, and what needs more attention. Nancy Miller, the phys ed teacher and helpers, also led the annual Jump Rope for Heart on March 23rd, and the student, parent, and teacher involvement was incredible. As a result of everyone's efforts, we were able to send a check for $3,469.94 to the American Heart Association. I figure between that and the defibrillator, I'm probably going to do okay. So that's really good. In this very busy week of March 27th, we had our on-site visit for 2 days, Thursday and Friday. That's a State Department of Education visit for special education law requirements. Friday also kicked off the Teachers' Day. There was something that was really special going on, and we toyed with changing it, but we felt we ought to just keep the school as it is. And that is that during the site visit, we also had the militia. So every 30 minutes, there was a musket volley and a cannon going off at 2 o'clock. It made for quite an exciting day, and one that I will never forget. But it was successful, and the 5th graders who have the militia here had a great time, and it's a really wonderful way to learn more about the revolutionary period in a real hands-on way. The beginning of April, we had the book fair all week for students. On Wednesday of that week, we had an art exhibit and parent night. There was a great turnout for that. On Friday of that week, the 3rd grade held their annual Fly-Away with Books breakfast, which is quite a huge event, and that's given to celebrate that each of the 4 classrooms recorded 20,000 minutes of independent reading. So that is quite a feat. A highlight of the morning was that Rose Crowley, who is a 3rd grader, played a Vivaldi violin concerto for her peers. It was quite exciting. Recently, Haley Foster, a 3rd grader, was our building winner for the Invention Convention, and she won 2 awards at the state level convention. Last week, we had a meeting for the parents of incoming kindergarten students. We're a little perplexed by the numbers, I must tell you, and excited. Currently, we have 78 in kindergarten. To date, we have 82 kindergarten students signed up for next year, and typically a lot of that happens in the summer. So I don't know, if that's just that everyone's early, or whether we expect that we will have a bumper crop. But we were excited that 45 families showed up for the kindergarten orientation a couple weeks ago. This is Turn Off TV Week. The PTA has planned an event to help families get away from the TV every night of the week. Monday was Chuck E. Cheese night, and the PTA gets 15% of what was sold. And it's just a way to get, again, away from our regular habit. Brainwaves hosted games night on Tuesday of this week. We had roller skating last night. This is the ice cream social night, and tomorrow is bowling. And at each of those events, although I didn't go roller skating, I've been to the others, and there has been really a big turnout. So that's great. For next week, we have two pretty important building projects slated. One is that we're going to be replacing the kindergarten playground. And you may remember that I came in, I think it must have been November. We had hoped to get that in before the snow flew, but it didn't happen because the ground was too cold and there was snow on the ground. Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to have, with Rick Molaski's help, the town trucks in, excuse me, in the afternoon, taking down the current equipment, and then on Monday morning, the new playground equipment will be installed so that the kindergartners will have kind of a state-of-the-art system as well. The other project we're doing is that the internal workings, just that part, the electrical components of the PA system will be replaced. That has been an ongoing problem, and we still have moments when we can't hear a particular classroom, so we'll get those things fixed next week. Mrs. Beach mentioned the family bike nights. Those will be coming up in May on the 5th and the 12th. And again, that's in support of the wellness initiative to have students riding. Our spring concert, we had our concert in December in the cafeteria instead of the high school gym, and that worked out really well. So our spring concert will also be in our cafeteria on May 10th. On May 11th, we're having Career Day for the elementary students, and we have more than 30 presenters, I believe, at the moment, and we'll still confirm a few more after vacation. But it is quite an interesting lineup of people and different professions. The kindergarten class of next year will have a visitation day on May 19th. For that day, there will be no kindergarten for the current students because the teachers will be involved with the incoming class. Our annual phys ed field trips to the YMCA Camp Lincoln, Dover Pool, Seacoast Soccer Arena for grades 1 through 5 are scheduled for the week of May 22nd. And that same week, the band and chorus will go to the Great East Festival. We're trying something brand new to help with transitions this year, and that is on June 6th, 7th, and 8th. We're going to have what we're calling a 6th grade academy for our 5th grade students. And we're going to set up the day for those 3 days so it looks very much like a junior high schedule. And each of the teachers will teach 1 of 4 subjects. So we're going to rotate the students through. They'll have 50-minute classes. They'll go to their specials and lunch. They will have recess, but it'll be an interesting experience, I think, to help them get a flavor of what 6th grade will be like. That grew out of, in part, that 2 of our teachers have made a trip to the 6th grade and shadowed students for a day to understand better what the transition will be like. So we see that as a good thing for our 5th graders. Our field day, the theme this year is Native Americans, and that's scheduled for June 9th. Also, there are many class trips coming up after vacation. This is the time. I'd like to update you a little bit on the committee work that's been done this year. The math committee, as you know, everyday math is now implemented in grades K through 3. Grade 4 is preparing for implementation next year, and Grade 5 the following year, as was determined a year ago. Since the work of the committee is largely completed, it was disbanded in March. So we're doing ongoing staff development kind of things. But the committee, we've implemented everyday math, and we're continuing to do that. We have a language arts committee this year that is now visiting schools and beginning to take a look at the 3-tier model of instruction and to review new reading materials. The Elementary School Facilities Committee, which was an outgrowth of the District Facilities Committee, expects to have our final report by the end of the year so that a more complete plan for elementary school building needs can be added to the strategic plan for the district. I mentioned that a month ago or so when we talked about the strategic plan. We have also convened a report card committee to take a look at whether we should change that and how. And we hope to have some suggestions. We're actually working on a rough draft of a new report card to better meet the needs of our curriculum and to better communicate where students are in their journey through education. And we'll bring that to the board, hopefully by the end of the school year. The only thing else I'd like to mention is that we do have May assessments in the elementary school as well. On the week of May 8th, we will do the second round of the Northwest Evaluation Association, or NWEA, tests in math and language arts to see individual student growth from the fall. We did those in September as well. And the week of May 22nd, we'll give the spring administration of the Ames Web for reading comprehension and oral reading fluency for students in K through 5. And that's it.
Questions for Mr. Thompson? Thank you very much, Scott.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hang on,
Scott,
Can you
can
hang
I
on
ask you a
one
quick question?
Yes.
In regards to the upcoming spring exams for the youngsters in the elementary level, are we going to be able to see some kind of an improvement in certain areas because of our enrichment program?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of the question.
Are we going to be able to see some kind of improvement in these spring testings to see if there's any type of improvement because of our enrichment program?
Well, I can't say for certain that we will, but I would predict that it will help students because, as you know, we have enrichment classes. There's some groups who come out of a class and work on specific topics.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, Mrs. Rossi works with every class on enrichment activities. So I've got to think that it will help, but I can't predict how much or which
You can't
student.
compare like from last year to this upcoming exam in certain concepts.
Well, we could certainly compare scores for any testing that we did for last year with scores that we may get this year. But one thing we'd have to keep in mind is it's a different group of students. So it may, it's hard to tell whether it shows growth because of enrichment or if it's just a different group of students. So,
are you going to try and make an attempt to look at that, though?
Well, actually, with the new testing we're doing, it's more student-specific, like the Northwest tests I mentioned, and certainly Ames Web. We can track an individual student's progress. So we should be able to draw some conclusions, for...
It will also, the everyday math, be interesting to see how that plays out this year's testings with last year's or the previous years before last year's.
Yeah, we should be able to do that, but you'd have to keep in mind that in 2004 and 5, that when we piloted, it was at most two classrooms per grade level, and it was the first year for those people. So we may be able to dig down and try to sort out whether the students who have had it for 2 years have benefited more than those who have had one. that would be a good thing to look at.
Could we put that as an action plan, Kathy? to look at
Actually,
that?
I've invited Amy Rossi to a meeting. I can't remember which one in May. It might even be the first one in June. I have to go back and look at my schedule, but to come and report on the Gifted and Talented program and to report on exactly what you're saying. Amy has been following the youngsters in that program in their beginning tests last fall and how they scored in this testing that Scott mentioned in the spring. So we'll be able to give you preliminary information. Again, you have to watch it over time. There are patterns that will happen. But
It's understandable. It's only what, after
right,
the first
it's only
year
the first
and so
year.
forth. So I
But
think we
we're
should
already
start looking
beginning.
at patterns.
We're beginning to see patterns, and I think when I do the kneecap presentation in a few minutes, I think you'll see that. You will clearly see it.
You know what, I did have one quick thing, too. I was just curious, are you concerned with the kindergarten numbers next year in terms of this class sizes and?
Not at this point. And as I said, this is the first registration process for me. I know that the people who have been in the building said this is a lot for this time in the process. And I know that last summer, because I was at the elementary school then, a lot of families came in August, and they just enrolled them then. So if that pattern happened, it may be a concern. This year, you have to remember, though, that we have 6 sessions of kindergarten, so our class size right now is about 13 or 14. And with 82, it would still be around 14, maybe 15. So I am concerned if it gets really big, and we'd have to take a look at that. But I just wanted to mention that because I know we're always concerned about enrollment patterns.
Thank you.
We'll keep you posted on that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.
Kathy, will you give us a little kneecap
We'll
update?
take a minute while I get the.
Sure.
No.
I do.
Jonathan, hold on.
How did it go yesterday? You're,
In Concord?
yeah.
Great. Cliff was there.
Yeah, I know.
Cliff didn't buy dinner. So
I
that
missed you
was-
last night. We missed you last night.
You did?
Mm.
Thank you, Chet. I missed you too.
Well, we need you.
You do? What for?
A lot of work to do.
Okay.
Well, what did you need me for comic relief?
Okay. Looks like it's on the screen here.
It's got a leak in it.
You can stay where you are, or you can move out front.
If
I
would
gave
not stay
you.
where you are, that'd be good.
I gave you the slides.
Perfect.
This packet that I put out in front of you tonight are simply the slides that I'm going to use on this.
It looks good on TV.
Right. Okay.
Jim just focused right on it. GT's focused right on it.
Right.
How does that look? Is
It looks good, Kathy. Go ahead.
Fine.
Okay, we don't need
People
to
can
do
see
the
it.
lights.
No, people can see it. It looks good.
Well, as you know, we received the results of the statewide assessment test that was done in the fall. But we just received them probably the 3rd week in March. They were a little bit late in getting the scores, but it was the first year of this particular test, so it took a little bit longer. The state has promised the results much quicker next year. The NECAP results, NECAP stands for New England Comprehensive Assessment Program. That is a tri-state effort with Vermont and Rhode Island and New Hampshire to develop a test for grades 3 through 8 that is aligned to each one of the state's grade level expectations. Those are all the skills that is expected in each one of the grades. So the test measures 2 things. One, that those skills are being taught, and the second piece that it measures are the students' achievement. And we have some data on that. The areas that are measured, the first one is in reading. And these are the areas that they will report to us on: word identification and vocabulary, literary text, informational text. I think you know the difference. Literary text, much more fictional types of reading. Informational, much more content, similar to their textbooks in school. Also, they are questioned on analysis and interpretation and their initial understanding, basic comprehension. That's in reading. In mathematics, students are asked to questions around numbers and operation. Those are your basic skills: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but then it includes fractions and rational numbers and ratios, integers, all that kind of basic operations in numbers. Second area is in geometry and measurement. Third is in functions and algebra. And the fourth area is in data, statistics, and probability. In addition, at grades 5 and 8 only, they do a writing assessment, and it's two pieces to that writing. The first is structure of language. That's where youngsters need to identify adverbs and adjectives, nouns, verbs, parts of speech, and depending on the grade level and what the expectation is at that grade level, the questions are structured around that. And then writing convention. What that means is students are asked to write particular kinds of essays. It isn't just like a creative writing. They may be asked to write an expressive story. They may be asked to write a story or a piece that is a point of view. So that there's different types of writing that they will ask the students to do on that piece. As you recall, in the NEAP scores from the last, 8 to 10 years, they gave you information about how the students performed. They've changed that a little bit, so I wanted to take a minute just to go over that with you. The highest score that a student can receive is a level 4, and that's proficient with distinction. Second level is proficient. Third is partially proficient, and the level 1 is substantially below proficient. As you know, the No Child Left Behind legislation is asking us that by the year 2014, that 100% of the students be proficient. So that's our goal, that all of the students in Newmarket, grades 3 through 8, will be proficient in math and in reading and in writing. We also expect that the test will move and change so that the 10th graders will also be using this same test. They haven't done that yet. They haven't transitioned. They're still using the old NEAPs, which is what Mrs. Brooks talked about. So their test is still a little bit different, but there is, I think it's 2007, they will be moving towards the NECAPs also in grade 10. I wanted to take a few minutes to show you how our students did, and if you go to the page that says all reading,
Can't make that out.
I-
There's no way people at home, I don't think, can make that out. So if you could read through some of the numbers,
Okay,
that might
too
be helpful.
small?
I think it's just too small. My screen here is very small, but it looks difficult to read.
Okay. Is there any way that James can focus in on it more? Perhaps we can
Not
get
so far.
Okay. Well, let me start. We took 499 students that were tested in Newmarket in reading, and 67% of our students scored proficient or proficient with distinction in reading. At the state level, obviously you can see in your charts, 94,000 plus students were tested, and 66% of the students were proficient with distinction. So from our point of view, our Newmarket students did just a tad bit better than the state in reading. I broke those down for you by grade level so that you could look to see how our youngsters are doing at grade 3. 72% of our students scored at that level, 80% in grade 4, 67% in grade 5, 66% in grade 6, 62% in grade 7, and 54% in grade 8. Obviously, when we looked at the scores, our first concern was at our 8th grade level. We've already begun to take information from the test, working with the staff to analyze where the weaknesses are and in terms of what happened with our 8th grade group. So we're doing that as we speak. That was the one area that we felt we fell short. But otherwise, as a rule, generally speaking, our students scored as the state scored.
Except for grade 4, which significantly
Well,
exceeded the state
significantly.
average.
Grade 4 is quite a class, and as I go through some of these slides with you tonight, you're going to see that grade 4 class. It has a group of youngsters in there that are just off the charts, so it's really kind of interesting. And in fact, many of them are involved in our gifted and talented program.
I don't want to lose track of this 8th grade thing, though, Kathy.
Well, I want to bring one more point up, if I could, Chris, that I think is really interesting about it. If you look at grade 8 and you look at the mean scaled score, the mean scaled score is 843. The mean scaled score for the state was 844.
So what's it mean?
Well, what does that mean? That's a great question, and everybody asks that, Chris. It really means that our students, even though we scored lower than the state in terms of reaching that proficient level, our scores were higher at the lower end. The students that were in, hold on a minute. The students that were in partially proficient and substantially below had higher mean scaled scores. So they actually did better than the youngsters in the state in those two low categories. It's really, it does get kind of crazy, but we know we're doing some things right. We just know that we need to have a stronger focus for some of those groups. And we have to begin to look at specific skills. And the test information will give us that. It will tell us exactly where our youngsters did not do well. What kinds of skills did they score below the state average?
Do we have an ETA on an action plan to address this?
That's already begun. In terms of the teachers, they have already taken the results of students. They looked at the questions that they did not score well in, and they are looking at our curriculum to make sure that those skills are being taught.
I think we'd like to see, when that plan is developed, to have it, we'd like to see what that is. I'd personally like to see what that action plan is.
Hold on, let me just...
Make sense?
Oh, yes. And I think by concept, too, in terms of whether they're adding fractions with the same denominators.
Well,
and
I'm
scoring
still in
well,
reading,
but-
so I'm still in reading, but we will focus on those skills that they are, that 8th grade level is. You got to remember now, these aren't our 8th, these technically are 7th graders. We're not looking at the 8th grade curriculum, we're looking at the 7th grade. Remember, this test was taken in the fall, so they were brand new 8th graders. They have not been exposed to the 8th grade curriculum. So these are skills that they have taught at grade 7.
Understood.
But is the expectation as an 8th grader that when you're taking the test as an 8th grader, are you tested on skills that 8th graders are
No,
supposed
you tested on end of the 7th grade skills,
Okay.
because they haven't been exposed to them
Okay.
yet.
It says beginning of 8th grade.
Right, but that's when they took it.
All right.
Is that the expectation for the statewide that the test is given in the fall?
Yes, everybody does it. Everybody takes it in the fall.
So they're really testing like from just to the 8th, they're not testing the 8th grade level
Oh,
at all.
No,
Right.
so it's really the 7th grade.
Right.
But it's reported out as 8th grade scores, which is somewhat confusing because they are 8th graders, but it's really 7th grade skills.
Right. They're testing how they ended up in the 7th grade. That's the principle, the theory behind it.
Right.
So for these 8th graders, the 8th grade teachers are dealing with these students now, but also the 7th grade teachers are going to need to be looking at these results so that for future 8th graders that they are addressing, any
Right.
possible problem.
And that's the beauty of getting this data back, is you're able to look at your curriculum and you're able to identify where your strengths and weaknesses are. And that's what our teachers are doing in their department meetings, and that's what they're doing in their after-school curriculum meetings.
It's fascinating to me and I'm going to say something impolitic, I suppose. That's unlike me. But moving right along, that there seems to be somewhat of a slippage when you get into this 6th, 7th, 8th grade, when you get into this middle school level.
I think that's common. I don't think that's
And you can't help
specific
but-
to Newmarket. We could talk probably all night about why that happens at middle school level. And it does happen. And it's obviously you can look at the state scores and do some comparison.
No, I understand that, and I see the same. I don't disagree that there's the same pattern happening statewide,
Right. But
to
that
the
doesn't
extent-
make it right either.
right, to the extent that we're mindful and that we're constantly addressing and that there's plans in place to look at that, then we should try to be exceeding how the state performs in all areas. And this is a particularly critical and sensitive time in the children's lives and in their educational lives generally. So it's an issue we should be looking at. Maybe we need additional focus on that. And we have a lot of focus, but maybe we need to think about that even more. I don't know.
Kathy, on staying with the reading, on the other sheet you passed to us, which gave us levels, level 4, 3, 2, and 1, those other sheets. On level 4, I've noticed, for example, in the beginning of 8th grade, it was only 9%. And all up and down the line, I imagine the entire state is this way. What is that level 4 that makes it so low in terms of proficiency?
I'm not sure I understand your question,
In
Chet.
other words, why are we having these low scores on the level 4?
No.
Level 4 is proficiency with distinction.
Right.
That's the top score.
So, yes, and why can't we have more of those students? That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's our goal, Chet. Our goal is to bring as many students to the proficient and proficient with distinction level as possible.
So our research will be with the concepts to bring that into play.
What the No Child Left Behind legislation says, that
So
all
ne-
students, 100% of them, will be proficient or proficient with distinction
Right.
by the year 2014.
So
That's our
next
goal.
year, we should see an improvement with that level 4. That's what I want to see.
Obviously, we're going to see, I don't know how much improvement you'll see in level 4, Chet. I think the goal is to get youngsters out of level 1 and 2 into level 3.
Yeah.
But never to turn our backs away from level 4 youngsters. That's why we have advanced placement classes. That's why we have college English, AP chemistry, all of that, so that we can challenge those youngsters. In math, I think you'll see some of the same things. Again, we scored just as the state did. As a district, 62% of our kids were proficient or proficient with distinction as the state. And you can read down your chart in grade 3, 68%, same as the state. We did better at grade 4. 72% of our kids scored proficient or proficient with distinction in grade 4. Grade 5, 66. The state was 63. Grade 6, we showed a drop-off, and I believe that we saw some strong scores in our elementary school due in part to the adoption of everyday math. Because the everyday math focuses on those skills that I talked about a few minutes ago, geometry and measurement, probability and statistics, functions and algebra, and that program is much more aligned to the grade level expectations than previous programs. But as you know, those 5th graders last year were not exposed to it, and so I believe that that's in part why that is a little bit low. Grade 7 was 62%, and grade 8, 53%. Again, grade 8, not strong. We really want to work with that. But yet their mean scaled score was higher than the state by a point. And again, it's because the youngsters in our level 1 and level 2s scored higher. They did better in their category than the state, therefore raising the mean average. No, we look at scores, and here's the writing scores. The state scored 50% for proficient and proficient with distinction, and Newmarket was 45. Our 8th grade class did not do well in writing. You can see that. Only 35% of the youngsters did proficient with distinction, and so that's a focus for our 8th grade teachers. They're really working hard with their writing skills. We saw some significant weaknesses. And we will continue. As you know, we've adopted the John Collins Writing Program. They're using that in grades K through 12 now. So everybody's using it. We've trained our new staff in it. We've had workshops here in the district on writing, and we are working to improve that. One of the things that we always have to look at is students with special needs. And the state, when they set their AYP, as you know, annual yearly progress, they look at all the subgroups. So we want to share that with you. The top row, Newmarket, again, is what everybody scored. But I just wanted to give you a comparison at each grade level of how youngsters with special needs scored. One of the things that was very obvious to us is that the co-teaching that's going on at the elementary school is showing us some results in grades 3. In grade 4, we don't have any data because it's less than 11, and if you don't have a subgroup that has at least 11 students, they don't give you any data. So, but you can see that in grade 3 and 5, our youngsters are doing very well. Although it's a small group, as you can see by the number tested on the left-hand side, we think that that strategy has been very positive, and results have been very good for our students, and we're working to do more of that at the middle school level. Our mean scaled scores were exactly, or actually a little bit higher than the state in some areas in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So again, our lower students are not so far down. We feel that we can make some progress with them. Same thing in math. Again, very strong in the elementary, grades 3 and 5. 6th grade, we didn't have any students who were proficient. Those students with special needs. Again, we feel that having not been exposed to the everyday math has been, once they have that, which will be put into place in another year, we feel that that will help the students. We also have to be a part of the subgroups that we are accountable for, or economically disadvantaged students. Those are students based on our free and reduced hot lunch programs. You can see all the students listed on the numbers in each grade level that are in that group and how those youngsters did. Again, I think that it in most cases mirrors how the state did. There's some differences. Grade 7, I think you can see a little bit of a difference, and yet in grade 6 they did substantially better. So it's
Kathy, how come on grade 7 you have 27% in the proficiency and distinction, and the numbers is 737 for a mean, and the state also has 737, yet the percentage, 27%.
Again, because our students in those lower two groups scored better than the state, they brought that mean scaled score up. We had the same exact mean scaled score as the state, but yet 41% of the students in the state made it because there were more of them that were in that category. But when you average the number, when you do an average,
Yep.
there were more low scores at the state, which brought their mean scaled score down.
Yep.
But our students in those two bottom categories weren't as low.
So it's a numbers thing.
Yeah, it's an average thing.
They're closer to the line.
Right. They are closer
They're still
to
below it.
That's right. There's probably a lot more youngsters that are in that level 3, very close to going into proficient because of the scaled score.
So it doesn't take too much to
It
move that
doesn't take
percentage
too much,
one
and
way or
that's
another.
what the teachers are looking
Yeah.
at. They're looking at what are the skills that these youngsters either missed or the instruction wasn't to meet their needs, whatever. They're looking at that information, and we have that. So we do the same thing in mathematics for that group of youngsters. We are accountable for them. I can't say that enough. It's not just about all kids. It's about the subgroups and meeting the needs. And again, this is dictated to us by No Child Left Behind. This one is in gender. Now, we don't have any obligations relative to gender in terms of No Child Left Behind. But gender has been one of your goals. Do you recall that in your goals that you set? And I have them. I believe you have them. One of them was this year to begin to look at gender differences. And are there gender differences? And are we meeting the needs of boys and girls in math and reading? It appears, and I looked up to find out if the percentages were statistically significant, and they are. Even though our groups are small, the variation, given the size of the groups, where it's still some significant difference, and we have to, it is statistically significant. So I want you to take a look at some things for me.
The numbers that are tested in these grades 3 through 8, actually, in this case, is the boys and girls basically 50% and 50%, or is there more girls? Can you just throw that out?
Boy, I didn't do that,
Yep.
Chet. I should have done that for you. I didn't
All
do
right.
that.
I don't know what was in the water in 1996, but or there were sunspots or what happened. But
It's
the
really,
boys
it's
in
really
fourth
interesting.
grade
The boys in fourth grade, yeah.
are blowing
it's
away
re-
the
yeah,
state
they are.
average by 24 percentage
yeah,
points.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting. But we have some issues we feel, our staff feels, that we have some things to deal with in reading with our boys.
But leaving that aside as an aberration, the boys consistently underperform the girls both in town and in the state
That's
at
right.
these grade levels.
But in some cases,
Sometimes by a very significant amount.
by a very significant amount. And so one of the things I think Scott mentioned tonight was that we were looking at language arts at the elementary school. It's going to be very important that we make sure that in instruction and the delivery and the kind of reading that we're doing is appealing to the boys.
To the extent that it's appropriate, I wonder if we can break down our special education numbers by gender also. Our IEP numbers by gender.
I could. I'd have to go through each class list and do that. In other words, I don't get a list of special education kids separate.
I understand.
We have to use the full class list.
I'm curious to see whether this performance gaps reaches down into the IEP students as well.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does,
All I'm
Chris.
interested in is
Oh, yeah.
very high level, executive
Right.
level stuff. I don't want to get into.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. All I know is that one of your goals is to take a look at this year, and we were waiting for this data to be able to say, hey, we have to look at this issue around gender in language arts with boys, because there are some statistically significant differences here, and so our staff is looking at
We
that.
also heard at the NHSBA board meeting yesterday that there's an existing and growing gender gap in terms of college admissions. There's statistically higher percentages of women going to college and finishing college than men, which is a reversal of kind of the historic trend. And the NHSBA is looking at that. So it's something that I'm going to keep my eye on.
And that's accurate information.
And some people say, yeah, it's about time.
One would talk about Title IX, and Title IX has changed
Absolutely.
the way people look at female, male in education.
Absolutely.
We know from all of our research about brains that girls' language is more developed at a younger age, the language part of their brain, and is better developed, and I think that you see some of that. But what that tells educators is that we need to find ways and strategies that will help boys without necessarily having to use just that part of their brain. And they're doing that. I wanted to bring this to your attention because this is one of your goals.
Good, good.
Math, obviously, you can see that there is some differences, but not as statistically significant as in reading.
Boy.
Basically, you might see like in
grade.
grade 3, I think you only see a 2%. That is not significantly important.
Yes.
Our 4th grade boys, again, there's a significant difference there. But for the rest of the grades, grade 5 is only 2%. That again is not statistically significant. Grade 7, the girls did better here.
Well, we're clearly exceedingly proud of our fourth graders in general and the fourth grade boys. There's a big gap between the girls and the boys in math at that level.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know if it's troubling, but it's certainly noteworthy.
Anyway, that's the state of our assessment. This data is very, very helpful. I know that the testing and all of that has always been concerned. You know that. There are issues in testing that sometimes create situations that skew results. We know that. Youngsters come in and not have a good day. That can skew the results. There's errors that are made. We have found youngsters who thought they were marking the 3rd bubble, but they were on question 2. So the whole, so we have to monitor them very carefully when they're testing. That's why at the high school it's so important to create an environment that's conducive to that kind of test taking. So
When will we know about our AYP?
we'll know about that in May.
Okay.
We just attended a workshop over at the university, the elementary staff and the high school, myself, and we should get those results. We're scoring about state average, so, but I don't know. I don't have that formula, and quite honestly, they didn't. So.
I think if I heard some of the earlier comments of the board, and you guys can sort of straighten me out on this, I think what some of the board members are looking for is the targeted plans for the handful of areas that this show a real need to have some very concrete intervention. And I hear you saying that the staff, the teachers are focusing on some very specific areas and have some ideas of how we're going to change and modify these scores going forward. And that's something that the school board would like to see, is those areas and those plans.
We did take some liberties already. We have a young woman who we had some money in one of our grants, and she's actually providing tutoring to 1 and 2 students at a time who have shown that they're not progressing at the rate that we would expect. So we immediately went in. It's like an emergency. It's like code blue. It's very important that we get in there immediately and provide the interventions to help youngsters. So we're doing that at the elementary school. I think you heard Deb refer to some classes that we focus on the skills. What skills didn't you do well on? We're going to help you do better on that. And I think those are the kinds of things that we have to continue to do. It's our responsibility to ensure that students are prepared when they leave Newmarket, and we intend to continue that journey.
Okay.
I would think our 5th grade teachers are salivating at this point, waiting to get their hands on those 4th graders.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy, would you be willing to give us an update on the firehouse closing? I mean, do people want to spend more time on this right now?
Oh.
Okay. I would expect that we'd see some kind of report at a future meeting about, that incorporates the tutoring, that incorporates the coursework, that sort of spells out, this is targeted at that. And this is what we hope to see, what these interventions.
I wonder if it's worthwhile to post these results on our website, Kathy, so people can see them.
Well, I'm in the process of doing our district report card, and
Okay.
I'm almost done.
Okay.
Usually try to get that out in May. Do you remember I did it last year? Has all the results. We post the district report card, because it contains other information, Chris, other than testing.
Sure. And folks should know that if they want to see what we've just seen, they're free to come to your office
Right.
and get them
And free
and
to talk to the building principals.
ask questions at any
and,
time.
I will have that, actually, the report card is all done. I'm just actually editing it right now. And we'll
Thank-
have it up on our website.
Thank you.
Great.
I attended the closing, and we did finally close on the firehouse. We closed, and this district garnered $260,000. Sorry, I had to look. That day, we had a $254,800 check. The rest of it was a down payment that they did initially up front. We do have some legal expenses. We did use Peter Bronstein from Soul and Leslie. He helped us walk through it. But, Sue's not here tonight, and kudos to Sue Caswell. We did not use a real estate agent. We did it all, she did it all herself. We saved a little bit of money by not using anybody except for the legal stuff at the end in terms of the purchase and sales agreements and making sure, and Peter was at the closing with me, and, but, Sue deserves a lot of credit for going through this process, sticking with it, and obviously to the benefit of the school district, so Sue's not here, but.
Great.
Have you notified Al that that's now closed and the town may not want to be using that for parking anymore since it's no longer?
Oh, well, they know that. They signed a quick form deed that turned it all over to us. We had already worked with Rick Malasky. Everything was taken out. They knew it. We transferred the electricity on Friday. All of that was taken care of.
Okay, good.
Okay. Resignations?
I'd ask that you accept the resignation of Mark Liu, business and computer education teacher at the high school.
So be it as a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second that.
I lost my...
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any nominations tonight?
None?
Okay. Can we do the manifest for April?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept the total of all manifests for April 21st of $363,258.86.
Do I hear a second for that?
Second that, Mr. Chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can you pass that down, Cliff, so Julie can have it?
Where my agenda went.
In terms of action items, would like to ask you to add to the action item list that plan for improving kneecap scores, the one we just discussed.
Yeah.
In our review of action items, the only thing that shows up for April 20th is that extracurricular eligibility policy. Any comments on that, Kathy?
Well, we are going to do that. You would like to review that. That was a revisit, my understanding. I apologize, I don't have it for tonight, but I just thought our agenda was...
It's kind of full.
Can I move that to next month?
Does that work for you guys?
Yes.
Okay,
So let me move it to a May meeting.
that sounds fine.
Okay.
Okay, calendar for April and May.
Obviously, there were a lot of dates that came up tonight. I will update your calendar for your May 4th meeting.
Okay, is there anything that we haven't heard or seen tonight in these various reports that should be added to the calendar? I mean, there's quite
Yeah.
a bit from
Yep.
Deborah Books. Go ahead.
On May,
Uh,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, the Facilities Committee meeting is going to be switched from May 16th to May 23rd, so we'll need to make that.
You know, I did this calendar last week, so it was,
Yep.
I'm behind
Yep.
the times here.
Okay. Other things that we want to change or modify with this that we show up in our next school board calendar?
After the elections, do we have an organizational meeting of the new school board? Or no? I don't remember. The council used to do, like, in the Monday after the election, they would just elect their officers and adjourn.
Well, you haven't done that in the past.
Okay.
You've just gone ahead and
Okay,
done your
never
regularly
mind.
scheduled meeting.
I couldn't remember.
That
Would be
agenda.
on the 18th, but with that election,
Yeah.
you know, you have a different school board. People need, there's like a swearing-in thing that goes along with it, isn't there? And that would, what, occur at the 18th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then you elect your officers and go forward.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. I just.
And that'll be part of the agenda.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So May 4th is when there's really going to be the weeping and the careful, misty-eyed goodbyes. As we all remember
right
the way we
along.
were.
Anything else for the calendar? Okay. District goals review. We have, those of you in front of you have our district goals. And we do a periodic review of these goals. And this is a chance to sort of take a quick look. I don't know if people have had a chance to read these and give them some thought. Has that occurred, or is this?
I, to be honest, have not spent a lot of time with this, and
Okay.
I'd like to maybe
Well, then,
postpone.
let me offer that we take this as a first read on this.
Yeah.
And give you guys a chance to drill down on this in terms of some thought about it. And I would ask you, Kathy, for our next meeting, you know, it's a matter of being able to comment on some of the measures of success, some of which we know about, some of which it's an opportunity for you to talk about. And we can actually maybe spend a little bit of time on this at our next meeting. Does that seem okay to folks?
Yeah. Yeah. Because there'd be a lot of questions in regards to the first one, or the action plan to create a K through 12 curriculum that is aligned to state standards and so forth. In terms of the scores, and we just received, give Kathy a chance to digest some of this.
It gives us a chance
Yeah.
to digest it, but and you'll look as you look through some of this. Chet, you asked some questions about the gifted and talented program.
Yeah.
You know, there's some measures of
Yeah.
success in there on that. There's the strategic plan. You know, in terms of there's some things that are in progress. We may not have necessarily hit the exact time frames, but I'd like to give us a chance to chew on it and give Kathy a chance to give some thought to reporting on it, and we can spend a little bit more time on it at our next meeting.
And I don't even think we could cover this in one meeting. We'll probably take part of it.
Well, you know, and two, some of this is going to come up in your work sessions with strategic plan.
Right.
Right,
Many of these things will be folded into that.
exactly.
So I would say if we had some specific questions on this, rather
Yeah.
than going through one and,
I think it would probably be to your advantage to have specific issues rather than go through, because many of these things have been
yeah.
done. They're in operation, but there may be some things that you have some questions about.
Or something we could add.
Right. Well, I would hope that before we add to this, that because you'll do a new one with your strategic plan.
Yep.
We'll just, this
Okay.
will be torn apart,
Okay.
okay?
Good.
Any other, we'll have a non-public meeting because we have some issues that we need to cover now. But anything else for the public meeting that you guys want to add to the agenda?
Nothing on the agenda. I will say that Cliff and Paul Robinson also attended the new school board member orientation at the NHSBA yesterday evening. And it was very interesting to spend time with people from on school boards from other towns. And I think it really increased the sense of awareness of really how well this district and this school board run relative to many other districts around the state. And I think it's because we treat each other relatively well. And when I mentioned to them that we had meetings that started at 7 and ended at 9, there was gasps of amazement all around the room. And one guy said to me, the only way our meetings would end at 9 is if we started at 4. So you run a good meeting, Jonathan. You give very good meeting.
Thank you. Before we close out, I want to let you know about something for our upcoming meeting. I jump into that from the New Hampshire School Boards Association, the call for resolutions for next year, with Chris being on that board. While we do have some wiggle room and time on this, you'll be getting in your next packet a copy of this, which they had mailed out to me. You didn't get it in this go-round, but it talks about resolutions, and as you may recall, one of our resolutions with regard to healthcare costs was something that passed unanimously in a recent year on this, and it's just something else that you'll be seeing on a go-forward basis.
One thing, I'm sorry, Jonathan, one other thing about the NHSBA, oh gosh, what was I going to say? One of the big issues they're wrestling with now is email communications among board members. And because there's legislation pending about that, and that's something we're going to be seeing from them. Oh yeah, I remember what it was now. They have a training person there who's like a professional facilitator. She used to work for Fidelity Investments and was one of their corporate trainers. And she's available to do facilitation of specific meetings and things. So I talked to Kathy today about whether we could ask her to come down and facilitate our retreat, our goal-setting retreat, which kind of takes the onus off anybody having to run the meeting so that everybody can be participating and formulating ideas. And Kathy thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, I would highly recommend getting a facilitator for that.
And she's very good. I thought she was pretty good. And I don't know if Cliff disagrees. He's just staring at me blankly because I ate his brownie. He's still upset about it.
And my cookie.
And your cookie.
Okay.
But anyway, that's something that I think is worth doing.
It'd be terrific.
They got an awful lot of resources there.
They do.
So that's something to think about.
Okay, are we ready for non-public?
Yep.
Can we get a motion, Cliff?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to go into non-public session under section 91-A:3, part A.
To discuss personnel?
Discuss,
What are we talking about?
Oh, God.
Is it personnel, land acquisition?
To discuss
Compensation.
personnel
Okay.
related
Okay.
issues.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Night. Oh, don't forget your sweatshirt.
Thank you, Peg, for your articles, too, in the paper.
Thanks, Peg. We're off the air.
We're off the air? Are we off the air?
We're off the
Thanks,
air.
Peg.
All the way? No, even with these ones?